Welcome to a gorgeous day on planet Earth and another day of Dose of Did You Know, where inspiring, intriguing, unique individuals come to talk about love and life and how it brought them to where they are today. I am your host, Danny Rocco, and with me, with all of the ins and outs of technology, I have the one and the only, the beautiful Mia. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, Miss Danny. Thank you so much for having me today. Thank you. Thank you.
You are so welcome. I've been so excited about this. But before we get going, tell the world a little bit about who you are.
Absolutely. You know, think about this question and, if I could sum myself up in a few sentences and things, I'd love to sum myself up. First of all, as a believer, I love God. I really love to follow him and his word, what he tells me to do. And I love to inspire in ways, the tools that he gave me. So I'm a musical artist. I've been singing and using that gift since I was just a little girl in many different ways, there's different types of jobs and careers and things that I've had. So I've been able to focus, I think, a lot more on the music in the last couple of years in my own thing. And so, and then also aspiring author. So those are two things as far as what compile up, I think, career-wise, using my own voice. And so I really have a heart for the broken. And so that's kind of tells the story a little bit about what those things are going to talk about, music, and then also my book. And that's really what my passion is going to right now. So day by day, what I do with my time is I let God lead and tell me what to do. And he's really just kind of opening up those doors. And especially in the times that we're in right now with the pandemic and things, it's wild and weird times. So it's a little scary anyway. So, it's just kind of really letting him lead and I follow, and it's, just put out a music video and working with the publishing company to write this book and showing me this women's ministry up the road that I'm now volunteering my time. I mean, maybe they have more of a position now. So it's that I can really work with these hurting and abused women. So, that's really kind of what I'm doing with my time these days. So, really kind of just using my backstory of my life and things I went through as a child and in my teens and things like that to be of use and service to people that have been there as well, so that maybe those types of things can help other people get out of those spots into better places.
So I love this. So everybody, here we go, because I am a believer in God. I'm a faith loving. I let him speak to me. So people, if you don't like it, close your ears. Do not send me hate mail, because I don't care, because it's going to happen right now. Because it's funny you said about how he places things on your heart. And I talk so much about that. Like when I can feel like you have to do this. I actually woke up at 3 o'clock. I wrote this to a dear friend of mine today. I woke up at 3 a.m. with this heavy, feeling on my heart. And it was about time. It was about, that is something we can never get back. We can redeem ourselves from bad choices. We can redeem ourselves from paths that haven't been, bad. Maybe we acted inappropriate to somebody or not nice. We can always redeem ourselves, but we can never take back time. And so that was placed so deeply on my heart today. So I love that you right off were talking about how he places things on your heart and that pushes you. And so can you explain that a little bit? Because I know what that feels like for me. It is a drive. It is literally he's pushing me in my back saying oh, baby, you need to go and do this. Or you need to speak on this. What does that feel like for you?
Yeah. Well, I think as humans, human nature is we want to do things that we want to do. We want, as human beings, we naturally want, we have that fleshly desire, put on this earth. We want to do things that we want to do. We want to pursue our lives, and so maybe we're not even seeking God, and what it is that we want to do. But he didn't create us that way. He created us with kind of that void in our hearts that we're never truly going to be fulfilled, so to speak. We're never going to be truly, deeply fulfilled unless we're seeking him. And I'm not a pastor. I don't claim to be, Danny. I'm not. But I do work closely in church organizations to where I am a worship leader. I am in women's ministries, that type of thing. And I am in leadership positions to where I do have, I guess, that type of leadership to where I do work with pastors, that type of thing. So I will say that when you are seeking God and you are, you know, in your own life, then he will nudge you. He will. And when you are in that type of communion with him, your life starts to transform. Not saying it's easy, not saying that it's, but you will start to be fulfilled in ways that you were never fulfilled when you were not seeking him, so, you know, so to speak. So it's a different lifestyle. It's a different lifestyle, and it isn't always easy, you know, but it is, you know, I believe more fulfilling in the long run. So I turn this into a pulpit. You
never know where I'm going to take you. It's a scary little adventure once you get on here. But how did you get pushed to where you are now? Because I mean, you're on a path that maybe some would like to keep their past hidden. They would like to kind of throw it, not think about it, definitely not share it, not use the gifts of your voice to tell the world about it. What brought you there?
Yeah, that was never the plan. Trust me. Just a few years ago, I was an account executive with a major cosmetic brand and living on the beach of, you know, Fort Lauderdale and making great money. And I was definitely living in my ego. I wasn't I mean, I believed in God, but I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. And it was a whole different, always dressed the nines and it was a 20 running around the place. It was not the life I'm in now, but I was also pretty empty and I was still pretty broken, I think. So and I was running from my past. I think that people that, and there's you know, statistically speaking, you know, I'd have to have a lot of notes. I should have brought them, you know, but in my own, have a lot of notes. I should have brought them, but I have, but there's a statistically speaking, you know, in troubled trauma backgrounds. And I'm not afraid to talk about this. This is where my career's going. So, you know, like 1 in 9, you know, little girls are abused, you know, it's, maybe it's 1 in 4, 1 in 9 little boys. It's it's rampant, but and then we have all these broken, you know, adults running around and divorces and drug abuse and everything else. Well, you know, my thing is, since I owe to him a lot of this junk in my past, and he's now showing me how to use the tools he gave me, my, you know, my skills, my talents, so to speak, for him to help to heal other people. You know, I like to be able to use those things to show.
Oh, we lost her for a minute. Hold on. She'll be back.
That you don't have to be ashamed. You know, no one knows better. You know, but what's sort of the backgrounds that they're coming from? How can we heal different types instead of focusing on the havoc and the destruction that they're causing, some of these people. So, you know, and so, but shame, I think, keeps people from coming forward and talking about their pain.
So, don't you think that, like, that shame kind of keeps, not even just keeps us in so many different aspects of life? Shame can hold us back from really moving into our purpose, whether it's, you know, an addiction, whether it's abuse. It doesn't even really matter. You name what category it is, but that guilt and that shame that we put on ourselves and take on stop us. So having someone have that voice, be a leader, saying like, you know what, follow me in my strength, because I'll bring you out of that guilt. And not you, but I'll help you get out of that guilt. I'll help you break away that shame into moving into where you're supposed to be. That's quite a big thing to take on, and a big piece of vulnerability to take on.
Well, that's what I'm called to do.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid. And the thing is that, you know, and I'm not afraid to talk about these things, Danny. So that, I mean, this is where I'm going. And there are other leaders that I really admire, you know, Joyce Meyer and Joel Osteen. There's some people out there that, Joyce Meyer especially, she's a woman, she was abused her whole upbringing, you know, sexually molested by her father. And she's helped millions and millions and millions of people, written over 90 books, maybe 100 now. I mean, she's in her Battlefield of the Mind is a powerful book. It sold millions of copies. It's amazing. But she did just the same thing. She's not a singer, but she is a speaker. And, you know, one thing that she talks about is, you know, just as there is a very real God out there, there is a very real Satan. And Satan will use shame and fear and guilt in the brain. And that is how he keeps people from coming forward. He messes in your head. And that is what keeps people that, and it doesn't have to be as, you know, brutal as, you know, sexual molestation and I mean, abuse in the home. It can be, you know, a little bit more trivial things, just day-to-day issues that you're having in your life that keep you from living in your freedom, in your calling and your purpose. Just lies, you know?
That is something that I repeatedly say to myself, is that when it isn't what I'm feeling or what I'm hearing in my brain does not align with my soul, and it doesn't make me feel good and loved, that is not coming from a pure place.
Right.
It's like you can just immediately, it's like as simple as that. If it is not bringing me love inside, then I don't have to pay attention, because that's not truth.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And it's important that we keep control of our thought life and our, you know, is just as important as it is we keep control and mindful of our, you know, our diets and eating and what we put into our bodies. And, you know, this all plays a role in all of our health, but definitely in our minds and what we think. You know, a lot of people, you know, our thought life really does control, you know, every single thing that we do, and our feelings and our emotions and that type of thing. You know, when those are out of whack, you know, we can tend to be pretty not so fun human beings, especially us women, because we're so freaking hormonal. You know what I mean?
Passionate. I like to call that passion.
Yeah.
Other people might call it something else, but I prefer the word passion. We are very passionate individuals.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy statistic is like 97. I think it's 97. See, I need my notes. 97% of our thoughts are the same thoughts that we had the day before. So imagine if right? Like, imagine if you keep letting these negativity, these negative thoughts in your life and thinking that that's your reality. The next day, you're going to do the same thing. And the next day, you're going to do the same thing. And you create this chaos of living.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I did some little speaking segment. I did a couple of years ago. I did research just on thoughts by itself and the amount of thoughts that we have per day, and then percentage of that we have of those from yesterday. Absolutely. Yeah. And then we wonder why it is that we're just so stuck on the past. And, you know, and I'm guilty of it. I mean, you know, I think this morning I had an episode, you know, it happens, you know, so it's just keeping track of that. And, you know, because if we want to be able to live in our best victory and freedoms in today, you know, you obviously can't be so hung up on the past, you know, and what's wrong with yesterday to be able to move in freedom of the present, right? So it's not even so much the future, and it's definitely not the past. You want to learn from the past, but it's living in the moment.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. That's why it's called the present.
They're watching. She's in Texas, and she's got like this thread. I think you two have very similar alignments in life. So after you guys will have to definitely connect. So like I see her pop up and I'm like, oh yeah, you guys do that. I want to talk a little bit about the, we learn from our past, right? We have to live in our future. And there, like you were saying, there's this middle part of not from taking what you learn and applying it instead of taking what you learn and sitting in it. Do you feel like, how do you feel about that? Or how have you translated learning from your past, moving that positivity into the future, into your music, into the gifts that you have of your voice, of your sharing, of your leadership?
Yeah, well, I think that there's a huge difference between how I process things now and when I did when I was not the healthiest of people, especially in my teens and early 20s and that type of thing. Well, I didn't process. I just reacted. You know, and I was a victim too. I had a victim mentality. So there's a big difference, you know. So I try to live in a victor mentality now, and I take responsibility, and, you know, I take things to God. So now I take things and I meditate, and I really kind of dissect the situation, and I, you know, okay, what issues, you know, where was I responsible for this, and what, you know, and then I sit on it, meditate on it, pray on it, take it to God, you know. And then I try to apply it, you know, especially moving, you know, leadership roles. That's a whole different ballgame, you know, because other people are watching you, you know, other people are watching your every move, and watching how you process things, and how you know, because they apparently want to be kind of like you. So there's a huge difference in that. So I hope that answered your question. Did that answer your question?
It did. It did. And what made me think of when you're talking about being of leadership, I think when you have that, when you've been placed in a leadership role for whatever reason, it just naturally kind of went that way, is that it almost holds you also accountable. It makes you stay focused into your reality. And that's why I think we all need mentors. We all need people that we look up to, because that will then in return kind of trickle down and hold us all accountable, because we're human beings, and we're going to fall and be okay with falling. And then we have to learn how to let go when we do fall, right? Like,
absolutely. Well, I mean, I think first and foremost, the thing is that if you're placed in leadership, you have to have other leaders over you, number one. That's the, you know, so I have some really amazing go-tos, and I seek for amazing leadership. So I am not the top of my chain at all. You know, I'm always looking for amazing. I've got some incredible pastors, and, you know, and looking and seeking for some, you know, even more than pastors, you know, just business execs and some amazing people that are just over me, you know, and you're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. Not perfect. There was only one perfect human being that ever walked the face of the planet. I'm not him by any means, you know, so gonna make mistakes. And so anyone that's seeking to walk, you know, a successful life, a godly life, a life of anyone that's going to walk and look up to you, then you have to be willing to have a whole circle of network that you can look up to. You know, it doesn't stop with you by any means, you know, and so that's something to, and then with those people, then they have a huge network, and it just keeps going up, right? You know,
I always say, run from the ones that think they're at the top. Like if you, I'm like, run far away.
Yeah. It's like, you know, who do you have that's over you? If it stops with you, then that's terrifying. I mean,
exactly.
You know, and apparently you want to be the best one in the room. I just don't, you know, but that's another story.
That is a whole other conversation. I want to talk to you as we're kind of wrapping up here. I want to talk about your song. Tell me about the passion behind your new song and your new video that you have that's out there. Did you hear that? Or did you freeze on me? This is a good question. I think she froze.
Yeah.
We're going to wait. Are you back? No, we almost made it through the whole thing without technical difficulties. Oh, are you there?
It just went black a little. It just went, yeah. Oh, I'm here. Can you see me?
I can see you.
See me?
Yes, I can see you. So
okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
My song?
Your song. Tell me about your song. What?
Okay.
The heart and soul behind it. Tell me.
There is so much heart and soul behind that. So, so quite literally, the pandemic had, closed the doors to the globe, and my dad passed away within a week of time. And, my significant other and I had sat down with the guitar, and we laid down some sort of a melody to it, but hadn't really, put it all together. And then after the pandemic had closed the doors to the globe, my dad passed away. Then we sat down and got really busy. And I wrote the lyrics to it, and I was in prayer every bit of the way, and kind of started to put it in the studio. Oh, shoot.
Okay, you're back. It got choppy, and I
Am I there?
Talking. You're here.
We there? Okay. Anyway, so
yeah,
we'll make it through. We'll make it through. Okay. Yeah. So wrote the song, got in the studio. We have a studio behind the house, and produced it, and it was just phenomenal. It was absolutely beautiful. It was God breathed. I asked for direction. Everything okay?
Okay. I'm getting all of it, but I kind of put it together. It's funny how when even through technical difficulties, when you really are listening, you can hear, it's like all the important parts of the story kind of plopped out.
Oh no. Okay. So go. Okay. Anyway. So I was getting all these visions, like one, I saw a car crash, and I saw, a man that was struggling with drug addiction. And I saw like, the dark alley, and I saw all these scenes, and I went to Brian, and I'm just like, I'm seeing specifically all these scenes. I know exactly. And he's like, okay, so start writing down a storyboard. Let's start writing them down. And it was just powerful. And I'm like, I'm an angel. I'm an actual angel. And then I told him like all the scenes in the cemetery. I'm like, oh, this was crazy. And then we sit down, and then we pulled in another friend of mine who does video work, cinematography work. And we sat her down, and then we just like wrote this thing. It was crazy. Called a bunch of friends, called the guy who works with Kenny Chesney, who does like, drone work and that type of thing. And then just like made this video. It was just, took 7 months, to make this video. And powerful, Danny. Gosh, it's just, so now I'm working on, I've got an EPK that I put together. I'm going to add this to it. It's got a little bit of press to it, this and that, and getting other press work and that type of thing. And I'm, have my own label, so I'm putting it out there. And, so that along with the book, so the book is going to tell my personal story of, it's got some, background of trauma, that type of thing, but also how to find healing in Christ. So, and it's got some other nuggets in there too. So, and I'm working with a professional publishing company. So, and there's, some other links and things to make it good and to have it well written and do it professionally. So then I'll have a product to sell. My vision is to be able to speak and to be able to have a product to sell with that, to help people and to be able to counsel and coach. And then also with my songs to be able to sing and speak and to have, obviously my song, and then I'm continuing to work in the studio with more songs and then with my book. So that's the goal. That's the mission.
It's a beautiful mission because song is so powerful. It really hits. I was actually last week when I was in Arizona, there was a song and it touched me so much. I'm like crying just about, not in a sad way, not crying like feeling bad, but like almost like a release of emotion. Like that's how I feel music is, maybe to so many people. It's a release of an emotion. So you're crying because of whatever is inside you. And a lot of times it's just like immense love, immense healing that comes out in it. So I love that you're using that and then tying it in with a book that just doesn't tell about a story of possibly, you know, trauma and tragedy, but it will give you tools and resources of lifting up out of that.
Exactly. Yes. It will literally my vision and, you know, partnering with God to help do this is literally when you're done when the person is done reading it, they will be a more healed person, you know, so they'll be able to relate to the author, moi. And, you know, by the time they're finished reading it, it's like, I identify with her and I feel more free.
Right.
You know, so I actually feel like I can get on with my life better, you know, so that's powerful, you know, and then like when they hear my songs too, I mean, maybe they'll be able to, you know, identify with me and relate with somebody and, oh, well, if she can, you know, go out there and feel more comfortable, you know, they may or may not feel like they have my calling to do that, but I'm not afraid to talk about this. I'm not afraid to get it out, you know, and then I'm more free. You know, and so that's maybe even a movement. Oh, so yeah, that's kind of like
it's out there like now. You said it verbally out loud, so now it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you know that you aren't afraid to speak is like kept in the dark. So it's like I'm thinking like hashtag break the silence. You know, like you know, because that's really where the trauma stays is in the dark. So, I mean, as soon as you speak it, it's, you know, it's in the light and then all of a sudden, but then it's like, what do we do with this mess? You know, I mean, obviously it can almost become more destructive until we know how to heal it, you know, and that's
so well said.
You know, so, we can talk about it all. I've spent years in counseling, but I mean, I didn't really get healed until I worked with the great physician. I mean, truly. And that's true. I mean, counselors, you can work with them all. You can work with them for a decade and still stay broken. You know, I mean, well, I'm not saying anything bad about counseling.
Started on that because that will lead us on to another conversation of how people like keep you stuck in the past instead of moving you forward into your future. Like that could be a whole other show of how I think about that whole realm. But before we kind of tie this up into a nice little nugget today, in this moment right now, I ask you to answer this completely honest with the first thing that comes to your heart is, what does love mean to you?
Oh, selfless. Love is selfless. Love is, I mean, love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envy. Love is, if we go to scripture with it, you know, which is how many of us really love at that point. You know, there's how we think love is, and then there's different types of love too.
Yeah. It is, but I think you like summed up, because I feel love is a flowing movement. Love means something different. Like if you were to think of it, that's why I say answer it right now, because 3 hours from now, you might not have said selfless. You might have said one of those other things, right? But that first thing that comes is how I believe we are in the purest of our moment right now. That doesn't mean tomorrow will be the same love or, you know, like I said, a couple hours, but like, it's such a flowing stream, a flowing ripple effect of energy. And God gives us so many ways to love and feel and embrace if we allow it. So I love selfless. Like I love how you said that. And I feel like that is what you're feeling in this moment now.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a selfless, you know, it's outward. It's an outward flow. You know, it's out of me. It's not a me thing. It's an outward flow. Yeah. So you don't really think about yourself when you're focusing on love. You know,
it's beautiful and true. Yeah. Beautiful, beautifully spoken, which I had no doubt from the beautiful Mia that made it here through all of the breaking up and the pixelation and everything. You made this happen. You don't give up when there's something so good. You just, you know, God will provide even through technology.
I mean, we'll get this message out one way or the other, right? We'll get it out.
That is the truth. And for everybody out there watching, Callie was very impactful. You had a lot to say today, Callie, which I love because I know this is pure to your heart too. So thank you, Mia, for being able to share this with Callie. I just kept seeing Callie Faye up there all the time. Everyone else out there, remember, love hard, love pure, and love proactive. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Bye, Danny. Thank you.
You're welcome.